Hello, I'm James O'Hagan, and this is Business Line, your monthly business barometer brought to you from Dubai. Each year in the European Union, hundreds of millions of tons of construction materials end up in landfill sites. One Belgian cooperative has a solution inspired by the so-called circular economy. Rotor deconstruction reclaims waste materials and transforms them into desirable products.
The linear economy we've known since the Industrial Revolution is in need of a seismic shift. Producing, using and disposing of products must give way to recovering, regenerating and repurposing materials if we're to lead a sustainable existence. The construction industry is a major contributor to waste. In the EU, the sector generates 385.5 million tonnes annually. Belgium-based Rotor Deconstruction is doing something about it.
Brussels every year exports hundreds of thousands of tons of materials, at the same time imports new materials at about the same rate. And we want to sort of make a bridge between this waste export and materials import and see, okay, can we make materials loop in a shorter circle?
We spent a lot of time going to companies mostly in Belgium, looking at what ended up in their waste containers and see whether some of that recurrent waste, which is often production waste, so it can be very clean, it can be very appealing even for designers to work with, whether that could be integrated as a raw material for other goods.
You could say that salvage and reuse of building materials is quite trendy at the moment. We see people from big corporate firms that would have never considered salvaging materials that are quite interested and quite open to the idea.
I think in the future, we shouldn't take these things for granted anymore. Maybe we won't be able to waste so much anymore because of geopolitical constraints, because of resource constraints, because of political constraints. So it's just that Rotor DC is a company that has a vision beyond the current situation in which these things are still very small and niche activities, as I said. But I think in the future they will be the ones that show a new model in which we don't take it for granted that we can just do whatever you want with the environment.
Rather than a model based on overconsumption of raw materials with cheap labour, the production paradigm is shifting to one which values skilled labour and lower dependence on natural resources.
A recent event here in Dubai took elevator pitches to new heights quite literally. Entrepreneurs had 1 minute to pitch their startup to a panel of world-renowned investors. And as if that wasn't pressure enough, they had to do it seconds before jumping out of a plane and skydiving over the city. Moves. 3 budding entrepreneurs in need of investment, 3 pitches to a panel of world-renowned investors via social media platform TikTok, and 1 plane. Dubai played host to a startup pitching competition with a twist this month.
3 candidates are going to pitch on the plane, and one of them will be selected as a winner, and then we're just going to jump.
We're the first generation to be affected by climate change, and the last to be able to do something about it.
Alejandro Serrano, founder of an AI-powered mental well-being tracker called YouMore, was the victor.
With YouMore, we want to learn from the past and build a future where we can democratize health for well-being and stress.
This event, Pitch Up in the Sky, is really about overcoming fear. So it's the analogy of what can happen if you go to the other side, look to the other side of fear. And that's really the deeper meaning behind it. The founders that we have as finalists, they are from all across the Middle East and Africa. So it was really our investment focus, as well as Dubai as being the place that really wants to push limits.
The panel of investors included the inventor of Google Maps, Lars Rasmussen, founding executive of Netflix, Mitch Lowe, and the first investor in Zoom, Bill Tai. I asked Bill what he looks for in a fledgling startup.
It's a big market that is going through disruption that is well-timed. That's 1. 2 is the right entrepreneur that really just has, really good integrity and hustle. And then thirdly, kind of capitalizing it right. So a business model that doesn't take tons and tons and tons of capital, because the better tech businesses, the better businesses generally for venture capital are ones that have high margins because they're very useful products. The great thing about the UAE and Dubai is that it has a rule of law framework, the ability to operate is a lot more straightforward in that environment.
This is the time to start a business because on the one hand, many businesses are failing, and on the other hand, new businesses need to be built.
The MENA region has an average age of under 30 and an increasingly skilled workforce. For these young entrepreneurs and their investors, that means the sky is by no means the limit. Toy companies are hoping for a bumper Christmas this year despite the coronavirus pandemic. 260-year-old London toy shop Hamleys is no exception, and they say that although sales have been significantly impacted this year, the success of online purchases and pop-up shops is providing a lifeline.
For many businesses feeling the pinch in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Christmas offers a glimmer of hope. And those in the toy business believe widespread lockdowns may increase demand for what they dub intergenerational play.
Our theme this year is all about intergenerational play, and it's about classics and really bringing the family together. And I think everyone's in the house a lot, so everybody really wants that cosy family feel. Sales generally across the high street have been very flat, so I think we'd be naive to think that we're going to have a Christmas like we had last year. But we are having phenomenal success online. We are opening pop-up stores at a rate of knots. So I think we will have a really successful year, just in a slightly different context.
In previous seasons, film merchandise was an important factor for the toy industry at Christmas, but it looks like for 2020, computer games will be key. But often, it's the age-old classics that can be relied upon to sell, no matter how low-tech.
We've had phenomenal success with Lego, huge success with Barbie, and the board games again, the classic board games are still going to go strong. They've been around for years and years and years, and they're still going to be the classic games. Every year there'll be a new invention of it. But I think even more this year is the year when everybody is going to be really encouraging each other to sit down and play together.
For shoppers here in London, the threat of a festive lockdown looms large. And it already has some thinking, bah humbug.
We live together with another friend. We already decided that we're not going to do any Christmas presents this year. And I think for me, Christmas present would be limited to like maybe my parents and my brother. That's it.
Exactly.
Nothing else.
Nothing too crazy.
And though lockdowns could bring on bouts of the holiday blues for some, for others, having a chance to deck the halls and get into the Christmas spirit with family will be just what the doctor ordered.
That's all we have time for in this edition of Business Line, but be sure to join me again next month for a roundup of the biggest business and investment stories from around the globe. I'll see you then.